The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Before the feast of Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper and took off his outer garments. He took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with a towel around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered and said to him, "What I'm doing, you do not understand now, but you will understand later." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash you, you will have no inheritance with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Master, then not only my feet, but my hands and head as well." Jesus said to him, "Whoever has faith has no need except to have his feet washed, for he is clean all over. So you are clean, but not all." For he knew who will betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." So when he had washed their feet and put his garments back on and reclined at table again, he said to them, "Do you realize that I have done what I have done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so, for indeed I am. If I, therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Precious in the eyes of the Lord is the death of his faithful ones. His faithful one, our Lord Jesus Christ. The most precious in the eyes of God. The only begotten Son, God from God, true God from true God, begotten and not made. He's the Son of God, and the Word by which everything that we know was created. The most precious, God Himself himself, does not stay away, but he comes down. And the Gospel puts it, the reason very simply, fully aware that the Father had put everything in his power. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The love of God goes to the end, but the love of God is forced himself completely to us. Doesn't withhold anything back. He gives himself completely to us. Today the church celebrates two sacraments, the priesthood, the institution of the priesthood, and also the institution of the Eucharist. One is a vocation that makes the other happen. But at the center of this is the desire for God to give himself to us in full service, to offer himself. And he shows us how to serve one another and how to give ourselves completely also ourselves to him. Challenges that we have as a church. Challenges that we have as a parish. Challenges that we have individually. How much of ourselves can we give to God? How much do we give ourselves to God if we are to respond in communion with the one who gives himself over to us in the Eucharist every time that is celebrated? What does he ask of us? And obviously, we want to love the Lord, and we want to love him also to the end, to correspond to the love that God is giving us. See, there is a correspondence of the love of God. So as much as God loves us continuously, he wants us to answer back with the same desire. He knows that we cannot love him infinitely because only God is infinite. But he wants us to love him continuously, to give ourselves completely to him, constantly. That's what the priesthood is about, the vocation to the priesthood. The Holy Father this morning in the Christmas Mass was reflecting on that reality in the life of priests, something that I have spoken with many of my brother priests about, and he was right on in regards to the challenges that we priests face, something that we need prayer for constantly. Not only to pray for an increase of vocation to the priesthood, but also to pray for the tenacity of those who are already priests. Father Richard, who's joining us today, he needs all of our prayers constantly. I need your prayers. We need to continue to pray constantly for all those who are offering themselves for the ministry of the church, for our seminarians, to pray for those, because the vocation is to give ourselves completely to the end. So not to give ourselves halfway into the vocation, but give ourselves completely to the end, which is what the Lord is calling us to do. In turn, however, the priesthood gives us the Eucharist, which is the continuous giving of Jesus himself to us, to the end. And that is never given to you, for you to become one with Christ. Something significant that Jesus did at the washing of feet, at the Last Supper, not only the washing of feet, but also that he added, in a way, to the ceremony, was the Eucharist, institution of the Eucharist. That Jesus doesn't only just wash feet with no meaning behind it. It was customary for someone to wash the feet of their guests when they were coming for dinner. It was customary. So it wasn't something normal that Jesus was doing. But Jesus was adding another note to that celebration by saying, take this is my body. Take this is my blood. Jesus is adding to that because he's not only just serving us, he's giving us himself. See, there is a difference there. One is to serve God, to serve the church. We all have a desire to serve God and to serve the church. The real reason why we come to Mass and why we volunteer, we want to teach and we want to get involved, and all these servers are here today, is because they want to serve the church. We all want to serve God. We want to, in a way, wash feet. I hear it when people come and tell me, Father, I want to go visit the sick. I want to take some time. I want to help out as an experienced minister of Holy Communion. I want to be a lector. I want to help you with marriage preparations. We want to be ushers. We want to help out. There is a part of our instinct in each one of us who wants to serve God. We want to wash feet. There is that humbleness of us who want to serve. It is something good. It is the grace of God pulling us to Himself. But it doesn't stop there. God doesn't only want us to serve Him or to just wash feet. He wants us to give ourselves to Him completely, to love Him above all things. In the same way that He gives Himself completely to the disciples, He doesn't just say, "Here I am," but give yourself completely. That's what happened with Peter. Peter said, "You will never wash my feet." Seeing that as an act of humiliation. But eventually, in the same Gospel of John, acknowledges that Peter will have to give his whole life for the gospel that he was about to proclaim. At first, he wouldn't let his feet be washed. And Peter eventually was crucified upside down and gave his life completely. His body, his blood was shed as a martyr of the church. There is a progression. First, I'm not worthy for you to wash my feet. And at the end, Peter gives his whole life. I think the invitation to serve the Lord that is also given to you as is given to me is to serve the Lord. Yes, I want to volunteer. So Father is going to have a ministry fair, and we're going to sign up, and we're going to do all that we can do. But sometimes, my brothers and sisters, then it stops. Every 100 we sign up, 10 are still around 10 months later. And then we do another ministry fair. And then we're going to come up and we're going to sign up, and then we're going to do the fingerprints, and we're going to do everything that we need to do to volunteer to help out in the church. And then a few months later, there is less. What happens, I wonder? I think what happens is that we do not nurture our relationship with the Lord, specifically in the Eucharist. We become all about service, but not about nurturing ourselves with Jesus. So at the end, we're not, who's feeding us? Who's washing our feet? If we want to be out there and become activists, then fine. But the problem is that eventually gets boring. And the Spirit is not nurtured just by giving out. The Eucharist is the summit and the source of a Christian life, which means that we need to come and nurture ourselves. It is sad, my brothers and sisters, sometimes when we do not go to Mass often enough, when we do not adore Him as we should, when we do not spend holy hours as much as we should. My goal this year, and I have some people who are willing here to help me, is to start an benediction and exposition of the Blessed Sacrament every Thursday, like we do today. To nurture those who want to serve, to come and adore Him. That's all He wants from us. All the actions and activities need to flow from that reality. If we do not spend time with Him in the Eucharist, if we do not receive Him often enough, then our activities are empty. We lose our spirit. We lose our nurturing. We need to go back to the source, and the source is Jesus Christ. Today, in this celebration, something the Holy Father said this morning, talking about the tiredness of priests. You know, he thinks that we priests are very tired. Are we, Father? And you can be tired to be a priest. But he says something that kind of stuck in my head. He said, the tiresome of priests, the tiredness of priests, is like burning incense. He says, it's like burning incense. When it burns, it gives this fragrance. It needs to burn to give the fragrance. Otherwise, it's not as strong. And today, you probably smell the incense, and you're going to smell some more of it. But it has a significance today in a special way as we pray also for our persecuted brothers and sisters. The incense that we're burning today, I bought it when I went to the Holy Land in June. and it was sold to me by a Coptic Christian. It's Coptic incense. As I saw our brothers and sisters being martyred, some of them, giving their life in a small community in Sabarita, I'm sorry, I get emotional with those things. But it is very significant that many brothers and sisters of ours are giving their life. Their life is burning like incense as we speak, in many places in the world. But that, my brothers and sisters, gives the fragrance of the church. That's what the church smells like. It smells like dying Christians. We need to pray for them. Offer the Eucharist for them. Let's go back to basics and just go back to Him who is the source of life. So as you smell today, think of your brothers and sisters, not only Coptic, but all Christians who are persecuted, and not Christians as well, who are offering their lives like burning incense. May their spirits go accepted of the Father and be received by Him. We put our prayers before the Blessed Virgin Mary. We ask for a spirit of devotion and reverence before the great mystery that we're about to celebrate. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. If those will be.